We're here at the Target on South University, one of the many businesses damaged after the protest last night. And if you take a look, you can see part of the door completely boarded up here and blocked off to customers. If you take a look here, this tree completely uprooted in this yard. And if you follow me this way, I want to show you this is part of a tin roof that blew off from a couple of chicken houses all the way across the street. Yeah, Chris, the rain is really starting to come down here in Hot Springs. We are in the downtown area where city officials say they typically see a lot of flooding when severe weather rolls through. And if you take a look here at Central Avenue behind me, you can really see that water starting to pull up here. Chris, right now Jefferson County is recording votes on machines like this, and some of them are just quite simply falling apart. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. These legs used to be attached to the bottom of the machine right here, but recently just broke off. Now, as you mentioned, only a few peaceful protesters have showed up here so far, but they do say they're expecting more to keep showing up through the night. And of course, one of them here is Miss Ashley DeLong. So Ashley, you've been here the past few days, so tell me, what's really the message you're trying to get out? You know, you can see police right now trying to enforce this curfew. They have shields. They're telling everyone that they will be arrested if they don't go home right now. The technology that's used to track viruses and bacteria on surface levels. It's as easy as swabbing a surface and then getting a reading. To give you an idea of just how intense these flames were, if you take a look at this car, it's several feet away from the entrance of the house, but those flames completely melting the front end of this Buick. Police tell me it's a crime of opportunity. Many of these cases involving victims not locking their car doors and then keeping their keys in the ignition, making their cars easy targets. We're here at the intersection of 38th and Crutcher Streets, and it's hard to tell there is even a road here behind me because of how backed up this water is. Beth, soon enough, bars here in the River Market will be able to open back up. But just like restaurants, there are strict guidelines employees and customers must follow to avoid another outbreak. Well, Beth, it's still a very active scene here on Palo Alto Drive where this all happened. Police telling us a man was shot and killed in the middle of the street here. Chris, you don't have to live by the river to feel the effects from this flooding. We just spoke to some employees here at Heights Taco right before this live shot, and they say right now there's a lot of unknowns, but this ban doesn't really come as a surprise to them. They shut down their dining room earlier this week.
Especially once those protesters left the governor's mansion.
Yeah, Chris, that's right. Both of them really stressed that they want to protect the rights of protesters, but they will not tolerate violent acts or destruction.
Mandy.
These mock tombstones represent what this group of community activists say could become a reality if schools open come Monday.
Safe schools! Now!
It's a demand from these teachers, school administrators, and community activists.
Shut it down!
The group of around a dozen set up these mock tombstones outside the Little Rock School District Administration building Thursday.
We hope that our superintendent has a heart, that he realizes he has the power to shut these things down.
Anika Whitfield with Grassroots Arkansas says it's a demonstration of what could happen if schools open during the pandemic.
We're here to say teachers, educators, students, and families should not have to write a will to go to school.
But Whitfield says that's what many in the school community have resorted to.
I make this will under duress and by force of Governor Hutchinson and his administrator.
The group attempted to deliver those wills to LRSD Superintendent Mike Poore, but was stopped by security outside the building.
Why can't we knock on the door? This is our school building. Anytime that a school district is not listening to the people that they serve, it's a problem.
On Wednesday, LRSD announced students will return to school with a mix of both in-person and online classes for the first week. But those like Teresa McLendon say that's not enough.
If they look at our sister states around us, even that little bit of contact during that first week has brought tragic results.
That's why the group is calling for an online start only.
Of students who are afraid that they will die if they have to go to school on Monday, August the 24th.
Continuing their fight for a safe school reopening.
If we can't get it
Shut it down.
And the group here today says they're planning to coordinate more of these visual demonstrations until schools are safe enough to reopen. Back to you. Beth, those with the Department of Health say contact tracing is essential to slow the spread of COVID-19. But as the number of cases grow, it's becoming more challenging to trace each active case. As a registered nurse at Jefferson Regional Medical Center in Pine Bluff, Sean Rainey does more than give medicine and treat wounds.
Dedicate your life and your career to taking care of other people.
That's why taking time off work was difficult when he tested positive for COVID-19 in March.
Whenever I got sick, my first concern was, that I had maybe brought something home to my family, and we didn't know how deadly this thing was.
Rainey never required hospitalization, but his case was one of the first reported in Arkansas. Soon after, he was contacted by someone at the medical center and asked to identify places he's been and anyone he was in close contact with in the days before he developed symptoms.
She was like, who else was around, and we started tracking down who had possibly been exposed.
Those with the Arkansas Department of Health say contact tracing is the key to breaking the chain of transmission.
We learn about where they live, who's in their household, have they been in social settings.
Dr. Jennifer Dillahay says the goal is to follow up with everyone in the state who's tested positive for the virus and to notify close contacts.
So if we can test them, and if they are positive, isolate also, then we have a better chance of breaking the chain of transmission.
But as the number of cases increase, the state's 250 or so case investigators and contact tracers are being stretched thin.
It has been challenging. A number of the cases have been Spanish speaking, so we're needing interpreters.
Dillahay says the department is looking to hire more people and is partnering with organizations such as UAMS.
UAMS has a call center for their contact tracers.
As the state looks to expand their contact tracing team. Rainey, now recovered from the virus, says he's happy to be back at work and doing his part.
There's a need here, and I've taken care of multiple COVID patients, and I've been donating convalescent plasma to help.
And earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson announced 20 Arkansas National Guardsmen have been called in to help the Department of Health with contact tracing. Beth? Okay. Beth, if you take a look at this damage, you can just imagine how intense these flames were. And now those living nearby say they just want to know how it happened. The air hangs thick with smoke Wednesday afternoon as this massive blaze overtakes an old school building in Jacksonville.
It was all in flames, and I was like, I thought somebody was hurt, or so we called 911.
City officials say the building was no longer in use and has been empty for a while. But for former students like Heather Atwood, watching it burn down was disheartening.
It's kind of weird though, because of all the years that I went to that school, I was like, well, it's it's school, but they shouldn't be doing that, but it was really terrifying.
Firefighters spent hours putting out the flames and sifting through the rubble. And while it's unclear how it started, some neighbors wonder if foul play was involved.
Seeing that, it's like horrific. It's more like along the lines of, man, I wonder if somebody's in there. Like, what would give a person a reason or a mindset to do something like this?
Yeah.
Jacksonville Mayor Bob Johnson says the building was on the National Historic Register of Buildings, and the city was working to eventually get it back to its original state.
I just hate it. I mean, it saddens me that a piece of our history, that our forefathers' history, it's gone.
As a piece of history goes up in smoke, former students like Atwood say so do her childhood memories. But she says she's just glad no one was hurt.
It could have been a lot worse, yeah.
And the Jacksonville Fire Department says they're just beginning their investigation into what caused this fire, but thankfully no injuries have been reported. Beth? All right.